Hello, digital artists. Today in this video, I am going to introduce you to the tint, tone, and shade projects, and we're going to be working with the shape tool. So when you get your copy of the Google drawing, there's going to be some steps on the left, and you're going to see some pre-made shapes here up at the top. So I'm going to go over the steps, and then we're going to do it together. Step number 1 talks about creating shapes. You have two choices. You can use the select tool to click and drag and select some of these pre-made shapes. So you can use these shapes in your design, or we can create some of our own overlapping shapes. So I'm going to show you now how we can create our own overlapping shapes, and I'll add them up here so that we have some choices, some different shapes to work with. So I'm going to choose the shapes tool, and I'm going to choose what shape I want to have in my design. I already have triangle, oval, rectangle, and heart. So I'm going to choose another shape that I can repeat in my design. So for this design, I'm going to choose the cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag to draw the cloud. And I'm going to draw it pretty big because then I can resize it once I have all of my shapes layered together. So now I have one cloud. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut for duplicate, which is Control D. And then I'm going to press Shift and resize it. Shrink it down a little bit. I'll line them up to center them. And I'll see that crosshair like that. I'll duplicate it again. Shift, drag from the corner, bring it down, center it. I know it's centered because I have the red crosshair. Do it again, duplicate it, shift and drag down, center it with the crosshair. It's centered that way. There we go. So I want to do this a few times so it's impactful. And I've only done this a few times so far. So I have, this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could do it a few more times. 6. This will be the 6th one. 7. 1 more time. 8. So now I have 8 of that repeating design, and I'm just going to make the fill color white so it's easier for us to all look at, and I'm going to shrink it down like that, and that way it'll be over here. So now I have some shapes that I can work with. I can use these ones here, and I'm just using the select tool to click and drag. That's step number 1. We got to use some shapes that we layered, overlapping shapes, so that we can add color to them to make our design with tints, tones, and shades of colors. So now we need to place our shapes in a design. So you could choose just one shape and repeat it all to fill in the canvas. So for my design, I'm going to use the heart shape, and I'm going to duplicate it. And what I want to do is I want to fill up my canvas with these shapes. And I don't want it to be so close to the edge, so I'll move it in just a little bit. You can really put your shapes in anyway, so I just want to have some fun with it. I'm going to do some facing up, some facing down, and I'm going to select it, duplicate it, move it down here, and then I'll try and just center them on my canvas because I can see, there you go, that looks good to me. Maybe I'm not happy with it. I can always switch it up a little bit later. So now I placed my shapes in the designs. That was step number 2. Now I'm ready to do step number 3, which is adding color. Use the fill tool to add color to the shapes, and consider using a color scheme such as tints, tones, and shades of a single color. So when you write your artist statement, maybe you'll tell me about your color choices for your color scheme. So I'm going to use the fill color tool to use tints, tones, and shades to fill in my color. So when I choose the shape, I'll be able to see the fill color tool. Then I can use tints, tones, and shades of colors to add detail. So when I go to color in my shapes, when you're looking at the fill color tool, the colors are arranged in a certain way. So we have a gray scale from light to dark. We have pure colors. Then we have tints and shades. So a tone is a color plus gray, and they don't really include that here. It just goes from light to dark. So you can use these pre-made colors. You could use custom colors. That's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to choose, because I'm doing a heart theme, I'll use warm colors. I'll use colors like red, orange, yellow. But I also want to use tints, tones, and shades of those. So I'll start off with red. And I want to start off light because I'm in the center. So I'll choose this very light. Choose the next shape. So I clicked on the second heart. I'm going to fill color. I'm going to click on that one. Then I'm going to make the next shade darker. And to make the shade darker, I'm just going to drag it diagonally. Click on the next shape. Choose that color. Then I can drag the slider diagonally. And I'm just going to keep doing that. Choose that color. And when I choose this color and then I go to the plus, the tool is already set up on the same hue. So when I click, I go to that previous color, then I change that color. And every time I do that, when I go to the fill color tool, it saves them at the bottom. So I could reuse them in my project. So I want to choose that color, go over to the tool, diagonally across. Choose that color, click the plus, diagonally across. So you could choose any color scheme that you want, whatever is standing out for you. You don't have to do warm colors. You don't have to use red. You can use whatever colors you want, but just to make this quick, what I'm going to wind up doing now is I'm going to press Shift, and I'm going to keep all of my design the same. So I'm going to choose all of those hearts, choose my lightest value. Then click that second layer of the heart. And to do this, I'm pressing Shift on my keyboard, and then I'm clicking those shapes, and I'm on the Select tool. Then I'll choose that second value. Click away. So I click on the checkerboard, nothing is selected. I press Shift, I click, 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 click. Then I go to that color tool, fill color tool, and I click custom color number 3. Then I click away. Then I shift and click, 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 click. Go back to that tool. Next shade. Next tone. Last color. All right. So that was step number 3, was adding color to all of those shapes. And I wanted to use tints, tones, and shades of a color for making that effect. It's kind of like an illusion, like the heart is popping out. So now what I need to do is step number 4, which is, change the shape of the border. The shape's border color needs to be changed. So really, to enhance that popping effect, I'm going to click and drag to select everything. Then I'm going to turn the border to transparent. So by clicking transparent, you can see it looks like a little paint drop with a line through it. So it's no color. Transparent. That way when I click away, boom, no outline on any of those shapes. The last thing that I need to do is add a background color. So I'm going to alternate click or right click on my keyboard to get this dialog box to appear. And I'm going to choose a background color. And if I want to, I can choose that color that was my darkest value. Then I can go back to the background and I can create one value slightly darker, then click OK. And now I have my finished design. So you didn't have to use hearts. You could use any of these shapes you want. You could use multiple shapes. You could just choose triangles and circles, or all squares, or hearts and circles, or you could do anything you want. It's your choice. Show me your creativity, but thinking about, a color scheme, tints, tones, and shades. Maybe you want to use more than one color. So for mine, I did all red, but maybe if I did this again, I could use orange and yellow too. So maybe one heart could be tints, tones, and shades of orange, and another one could be yellow, or I could do a pattern. So I hope you enjoy working on this tints, tones, and shades project to create these popping shapes.